everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. We're finally done with Season 6 of The X-Files.
Oh, thank God.
And it has been all over the place. But after going through all of it, I think there's several episodes on the minimal side of love. So it's like love sick, love this, love that, but
romance.
Not
that you love them, but that they're about love.
Right. And I thought that was interesting because we were watching it in February where it's Valentine's Day. So I just thought it was interesting. And we're going to do our top worst and then our top there's 22 episodes in all.
Yeah.
And so
we're going to do our top 11 best and top 11 worst, which that's cool. 11.
Right.
And I think that this season, the thing is that I think that people misconstrue what we say when we say this is a bad season. Or like Season 1, Season 2, Season 4, Season 5. Those are bad seasons. But what does that really mean, Safi? It means that they're bad as a whole. If you zoom out of the picture, if you take binoculars and you're zoomed in and you zoom out to look at the full landscape of the season, it's bad. Because it's inconsistent. It doesn't have a good story overall. It doesn't have a consistent story. It's badly structured. It doesn't have... It's all over the place. Like, that's what we mean by bad seasons. We don't mean...
that every episode is bad. Which
is
totally not true.
That wouldn't be true with really almost any show, except for, like, the modern ones like Chucky and... American Horror Story double feature. With this, it's like you can zoom in and you can see, oh look, there's all these great episodes that I can watch. But if you zoom out to the full picture, this is bad. This season is bad.
Well, I don't look at it that way, but it's fine. I just say there's good ones and there's bad ones, and that's going to be every series, especially if you have 22, which to me, this is what we talked about all along. When you have a season that only has 6 episodes, there's no room for error. And that's the problem nowadays. They make errors. And so talk about a totally bad season. That's really, it's glaring then.
A good season has to have
continuity.
It has to have a consistent story. It has to have good character arcs that last throughout the whole season. It has to have a good finale. And see, you have all these elements that make up a good season of TV. Like Bates Motel seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all good seasons of TV. This is a bad season of TV. That's what I meant. If you zoom in, though, you can say, oh, there's good episodes, there's bad episodes, but that's every show. You have to zoom out, Safi. This is a bad season.
Whatever.
It's bad. It's real bad.
So, what do you want us to do? Do you think maybe I should do top 10 worst, then you do the top 10 worst, and then...
You mean 11? But let's just... I want to just say a couple of general... things that maybe we could discuss, because they're just a couple of general observations that you can really get a scope on this season as a whole. Number 1, they completely changed the look of the show. I mean, every episode looks like a commercial for Robert Redford's Sundance clothing company. Every episode takes place in the desert. People's skin colors, you got all these white people, and their skin looks yellow now for some reason. Like, everyone looks like yellow people. This is the yellow files now. and everything is a lot lighter. There's no darkness anymore. No darkness. And it's terrible. And there's so much comedy. Like, just, why is there all this comedy? Just comedy. I don't watch the X-Files for comedy. I watch the X-Files to see some dark horror sci-fi stories. Safi, do you agree with that? I mean, can't...
Well, I agree. There was a lot of comedy, but I guess I just look at it as they don't want them to appear to take themselves too seriously.
Well, guess what? I am taking them seriously, and my serious analysis says they suck. And it's for a reason. It's for an actual reason. Because apparently, I learned this in the season 5 finale. I saw someone's review, and they mentioned how in season 6 and on, they went from shooting in Canada to shooting in California. And you can tell.
Wow.
And it looks terrible. It's just so bad. They didn't make a single attempt to make it look like it used to look. It looks terrible now. It looks like the X-Files spin-off show. And that's the thing that was weird for me, was that it feels like a completely different show. The tone is all over the place. It goes from comedic to dark to this to sad to romantic. Like, it's all over the place. And the tone actually fits better with the Lone Gunmen than with Mulder and Scully. Like, this, if they had the Lone Gunmen lead the whole show from now on, it would fit a lot better than Mulder and Scully. And so I just think that that's really bad. And also, the titles are terrible. I mean...
Well, we've been through this already.
Yeah, but it's like, I was looking back at past seasons and like, what was that? What was that? What was that? Because they're so bad. It's like, you got shows like Breaking Bad. Let's just... Remember the Breaking Bad episode called Fly, Safi? What was that about?
I don't know.
It was about a fly.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because it's called Fly. If the people who made X-Files, if they named that Fly episode, you know what they'd call it? That's what they call that. And so it just shows that, like, it feels like the creator died. Like, the guy who created the X-Files, Chris Cop-Out, he is in full cop-out mode, and he died. And they're just working his body like a puppet, like in Weekend at Bernie's right now. He is no longer alive, and it just shows. It's like he's a zombie, and he's just, he can't even hold up the show. It's like a totally different thing. It's trash. It's a mess. And the worst part is that for some reason, every single fucking episode, they're teasing this romance between Mulder and Scully, and it's not going to go anywhere? Like, that's fucking bullshit, Safi. This is trash. And then you have the thing where something really big happens in the middle of the season. And then right after that, it's like they don't even care about it anymore. Like, it never even happened.
Which is kind of weird.
It's like The Simpsons.
I wondered what they were going to do.
I know. And then what was sad was they started the show off with the story about Jeffrey and that other woman, the woman who got shot from last season, the girl that
Spender,
Cassandra Spender? That's Jeffrey's mom. What are you talking about?
The dark-haired girl.
Yeah, the dark-haired woman. Yeah. What could you call her?
I don't know what to call her.
What are those bag cookies that no one likes?
I don't know what those would be.
What kind of cookie is she, Safi? Is she Is she a do-si-do from Girl Scout cookies?
Well, those are the dry peanut butter ones. So
that's her.
I guess so, because
she's dry.
She's dry.
She's very dry, Safi. And
well, it's a shame. I used to like those, but I think they're worse than they used to be.
But the season started off, and you thought it was going to be this really cool change of pace where they can't work on the X-Files officially, and they have to sneak around to try to do X-Files by themselves. And then they have this new boss. He's black. He's Mr. Kirsch. And the reason I say that is because they did the exact same thing like they did with Deep Throat, where Deep Throat died, and then who does he get replaced with? A black guy named Mr. X. And then you have Skinner, a.k.a. I don't know what to call that dickhead anymore. I mean, he's trash. He's trash, Safi. He's the worst. Okay.
I don't know what to think either.
Krychek is worse, actually. He's the worst.
He's the worst.
What a stupid
what about
character.
Cigarette Boy?
Cigarette Man?
Yeah.
He's awesome, but they just utilize him in bad ways.
Oh.
Like, he still has that origin episode that you can think about all the time. But what was I saying, Safi? Ooh, what was that noise?
It's a helicopter.
It was like...
It's a helicopter. Anyway, it could be a hospital helicopter.
Yeah, they're probably spying on our review.
I doubt it.
They're watching us!
Oh.
They're listening!
Shh.
No, this is a review!
I'm sure that's, yeah. Okay, they're just going over a big deal.
But it started off, and you thought this is going to be a cool change of pace story. You thought that they're going to have to deal with this new boss, Mr. Kirsch, and you thought that it was going to be like a really interesting, different look at the show, at the week to week. And then what happens? They just go back to normal, and Mr. Kirsch doesn't even matter. You know, he never really even did anything besides just go like, yeah. I didn't even care if you saved a bus full of children, you fucking,
And he hates Mulder.
I don't like you,
too.
He
says he was meaningless. And he said something like he's no longer relevant or something.
Yeah,
like that.
just this, and of
that
course...
That was depressing, I thought.
He was corrupt. That was a really great moment. Wasn't that the boat episode? Yeah, Triangle. Okay, now I remember that episode because I forgot what that was about. Because it's just called Triangle.
I don't like it. Well, at least it identifies with what it's about. It's about the Bermuda Triangle.
There was that hilarious moment where Scully goes into Mr. Kirsch's office for help, and then she sees the cigarette guy in the corner, and she just leaves without saying anything. And then she goes downstairs to see Jeffrey, and she's like, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have told him." And she sees him upstairs talking to the cigarette guy. That was really funny. That might have been one of my favorite moments of the whole season, because it was like such a cool and different perspective than we've seen in the past seasons, where it's been like, okay, I can just go to Skinner, Daddy Skinner, and he can help me, or I can. Or remember that stupid we'll talk about the senator. Remember the senator from that Little Green Men episode in season 2?
He's gone though, right?
He comes back in that SRA 17, 18, 19, and that's him, and he's become trash.
SR 819.
Let's talk about our worst and our best. Safi, you go first with your worst.
Well, are we going to
your top 11?
Do the whole thing?
Yeah, let's go through it fast.
I'm just doing it 10.
Go through it fast.
Is 3 of a kind. That is the Lone Gunman's return. 9 is Tiffaness.
But why? Why?
Why what?
You have to say why for each one. The little blurb. Why?
Well, I see. Okay, well, the reason why is because I just didn't care for it. I didn't like it. I like them a lot. And, but I didn't like the episode. It was about that blonde woman. And I think he said it's been years, and 10
years.
That's what I thought, but it doesn't make sense in terms of the episodes. But anyway, it'd been 10 years, and he had like all kinds. He had a crush on her, and maybe he was really in love with her, I don't know, but the main guy that wears a suit, and he's the only one that wears a suit, so, I mean, a really nice, complete suit, and then, because the other guy of the three, he wears it like a jacket, but he just doesn't wear a complete suit, and the other guy's a t-shirt guy. Okay, so anyway, you have the suit guy, and he had a crush on her, and he would have fantasies about them being together and having children and lives in a perfect house. But anyway, she comes back and all that just gets turned around and twisted. And
surprise, surprise, she has a fiance, and the fiance is the guy who played the fiance in Dumb and Dumber. And it was funny because it was the same story where there was the main guy. He had a crush on this girl, and then it turned out, oh wait, no, he wasn't the fiance. He was, oh wait, no, that wasn't that. But it was like the same type of thing where he had a crush on this girl, and then it turns out she has a fiance, and then boo-hoo.
Well, anyway, but it turns out the fiance was really using her, and he was going to end up killing her. Or she was going to end up getting killed, and he would know about it. So, anyway, it was just, I don't like it.
Look at that tiny little bird, Safi. It's like this big. Look, by the road. See that?
No. If it's black and white, it's a chickadee.
I'll have to take
It's a chickadee, probably. They're the smallest. So, anyway, then the number 9. So, anyway, it's, I just have 10, and then for the good ones, but it's like the 2 are in the middle. Really, they're not really good, and they're bad, but they're not at the top 10 bad. Okay?
Oh, so you mean the episodes that you put in the middle? They're in the middle.
Right.
Wow.
Okay, so then Tiffaness, Tithonus. I'm just saying that because it's like, what is that?
Tiffaness?
I don't know, but it's about a guy who has this ability. And he's been around for decades, so he's like one of these unnatural people who's been around since who knows when. And since I guess you could take pictures, taking photographs, and he doesn't want to be. He wants to die because he's sick of being alive. He has the ability to take pictures of people who are they're dying or they're about to die. Mainly, it's been they're dead, and they show them something about them in terms like, let's say they're murdered, and they've been strangled or something.
Why didn't you like it though?
I didn't like it because
explain.
I just thought it was depressing.
Oh.
I thought it was depressing, and I liked the actor who played the guy.
Yeah, I like the actor as well.
They thought he was the killer, but really he didn't do anything wrong. He just had this ability.
He was in Salem's Lot.
And he was just around. I don't know, he just happened to see all these things in his camera. I don't know, it's really weird, but it was depressing because at the end it involved Scully. And
that wasn't depressing. He turned her immortal.
Yeah, he helped her.
What's depressing about that?
I just thought it was depressing because it's just the whole thing with the seeing dead. Well, he died. He gave himself. He sacrificed himself for her, but it was really weird. It wasn't like the usual kind of sacrifice. In other words, he didn't stab himself and beat himself over the head. It was. I don't know how to explain it, but whatever he did, he sacrificed himself for her. So then my next one is number 8.
That's SRA 819.
Yeah, and like, what is that? Does that mean anything to you people? I really seriously doubt it.
Shit, retard.
Okay,
ass,
that's just okay. Don't do that. Don't do that.
That's
it's
what it
just
can mean.
What it referred to. This was Skinner getting so ill. I mean, I really thought he was going to kick off in the episode because he got worse and worse by the hour. But what did they say? He had 48 or 24 hours, and his face was just all. They show this like right at the beginning. You know how in an episode of a show, they'll show something that's happened, and then they'll say 3 days ago, and then they'll go on with the show.
Safi,
he just looked like he was on his last leg.
He's on his last leg every single season.
I mean, this was really looked awful.
Remember when he got shot in the intestine and everything, and then he got framed for the murder of a dead hooker, and then he covered up the bees thing. He covered up the serious crime that didn't result in anything good happening.
Well, I wondered why he. Wondered why he. I thought when I watched the episode, watching the whole thing, that he'd had a contract dispute. Now, I don't know this.
The actor?
Sure. Yes, and he was not getting paid as much as he thought he should, and so he wanted to get killed off.
He shouldn't have a contract dispute. He should have a writer's dispute where he goes up to the writers and he's like, "What the hell? Why won't you write me a good character? Why is it that every season my character just gets funnier and funnier, and how weak and pathetic I am?" You had dead hookers are bad enough, Safi, but he covered up that bee thing, and he just every single season he just becomes more and more of a joke.
Okay, well, that was SR 819, and the title is horrible. I think it's the name of the drug that saves him, but what saves him is...
Well, that's the name of the virus.
Oh, okay. But whatever, you know what? It wasn't... He did get an injection of something. It was a secret thing where he didn't know he got it. He got stuck with a needle that had something bad in it, which I guess was the SR819. But somebody was behind the scenes, and they had this electronic device, and they could control his feeling better or getting worse and worse. And I think it was Krychek. I'm not sure, because he was very disguised. He had on a hoodie, and
that was some random guy.
I thought it was Krychek.
No, that was some...
I really believe it
That was some crack dealer or something that they hired, some extra.
Anyway, he really controlled what happened. Don't ask
Safi,
me.
Skinner was so weak.
It was so bizarre, because the thing was, this controlling his virus or whatever, infiltrating his body. It was taking over his body.
He has some sort of a purple vein problem.
He has an electronic device that can control what happens with that, and that was just bizarre.
That was funny.
I just thought it was horrible. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, go faster.
Number 6, you're making it longer.
That's because we got to discuss things and
Okay, well then be quiet. Number 6 is Agua Mala, and that is Spanish for bad water.
Oh.
And what originally what we thought it would be, because this is what they advertised it to be, it was some kind of this family disappeared, and they thought it was due to a sea monster, and that was in this Florida area. And but it turned out to be what they were doing. They're having a horrible hurricane, and we hear about hurricanes all the time, every year, at least once a year. And so the Aguamala refers to this apartment complex where these final people were, and where these other people had been, were holed up. They decided they didn't want to leave, and so they were holed up there. And Aguamala was the water within the apartment complex, and it was evil or bad. That's what I mean. I don't know how to explain these things because it's so bizarre.
There was a parasite in them, Safi, an actual parasite,
Well, they would gobble people up and kill them.
Unlike that movie called Parasite, there's a real parasite in this episode.
Yeah, that's what I thought that movie was going to be. But
Parasite!
But anyway...
and I won't say what the parasite looks like.
At the very end, the only reason why they knew that it was this water, because it took them the whole episode to figure it out, is because... Was it Mulder who saw the cat?
Yeah, he saw the cat outside in the rain.
The cat was going in and out because it was I don't know, I get feral. I don't think it belonged to anybody or somebody left it behind. And it was fine. But it was outside in the rain. And they figured it was the water in the complex. So, the apartment complex. So, that's bizarre. Okay? But I give them credit for having these strange ideas. Maybe they got them from the National Enquirer. You know, that rag that used to, I don't know if it still exists. I don't think it is. But anyway,
they are a formidable press.
Not anymore.
Organization.
Not anymore. Anyway,
they are
now
fierce
I'm going to move on to
titans of the industry.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
not
they
anymore. They got in trouble.
They exposed how aliens are in the White House right now.
Yeah, okay. I think they were in it the last 4 years. Okay, anyway, number 5 is Triangle. And this is like one of the very few episodes that the name actually has something to do with the episode. And because it's referring to the Bermuda Triangle. And if anybody out there who watches X-Files or just is kind of aware, is that the Bermuda Triangle is this area down in south where ships and planes and people have gotten lost and just disappeared. Lots of things, lots of ships, lots. And so what happens is Mulder gets stuck there, and in this 1939 boat, which had a luxury liner, which had back in the time, and he's like, what the heck, because he's in his usual garb and everything. But anyway, I did not like it. This
episode was on drugs.
I just didn't like it, and
it was crazy.
What happens is, I guess the lone gunmen were in it, and they and Scully have to save him. And it's just I didn't care for it, even though I liked, the Bermuda Triangle has always been fascinating to me. But
and they did this
I
really.
Didn't like it.
This is why I'm telling you, this fucking Chris cop out. He did a really dirty trick where there's this woman on the Queen Anne, and she looks exactly like Scully. And it's the same actress. And guess what? Mulder kisses her, and they fall in love.
Except they didn't show it.
Yeah, they showed them kissing up close, Safi.
I thought they didn't show it.
No, they showed it, Safi. I remember. And
okay, whatever.
They did that on purpose to say, look, he's gonna kiss this random person, but he's never gonna kiss Scully. I thought, what a
well, anyway,
Chris cop out.
We're going to move on now. Number 4 is the beginning, and I think that's the very first episode.
Yeah, it is.
And I didn't care for it.
Really?
It was a resumption of, I think, what was happening
in the movie.
From the movie. And
it was the movie, Safi. It was all about the movie.
And, well, of course, they had to promote it.
And about the little boy. They play around with his brain.
Oh.
They don't even say what they're doing with that. It's just like, they're like, ooh, let's tinker around with the little boy's brain.
This little boy has the ability to read everybody, and he uses that ability to play chess. It's not that he's a great chess player, but everybody thinks he is. It's the fact that he knows what everybody's doing, so he can one-up them. I mean, he knows how to play chess, but he's not a chess master.
He is also part alien.
Right.
But then in the finale, they're like, oh, wait a second, that doesn't really matter because we're all aliens.
Ugh. So anyway, I don't know what else to say about it. I didn't care for it. Maybe because of how the little boy was in danger all the time, and he just wanted to be normal, and he couldn't. And they were making it worse.
Well, Safi, he asked for it. He became a chess champion because he wanted to. And so isn't it his fault that he brought all that attention to himself, Safi?
Right. Let's blame the victim, okay?
It is his fault.
They wanted him, and they wanted to study him.
That little douchebag, he caused all these chess players nights and nights of suicidal harm.
Give me a break.
Emotional,
like that.
Emotional distress.
No.
Because he had to win. Because he's bored and he wants to have quiet time and chess matches.
No, they would never think like that. They would be up. They would say, "I'm gonna meet this challenge." And move on to the next.
Safi, he cheated. He's literally a cheater. He is the biggest cheater in the universe.
Okay.
And he deserved the peril that he got into.
Well, he was in very deep peril. But anyway, we're going to move on to number 3. And here's another one that's, I guess, it's related to the episode in terms of a name of character. That's it. It's called Trevor. And I had to ask Marco, for some reason I had a block about remembering what this one was about. And I think what it was is, it was called Trevor. And I didn't like the actor at all. And it was about this ex-con, and he was extremely dangerous. He could, if he didn't like you, just kill you on the spot. But he found out his, I don't know if they were married or not, but his girlfriend or whatever, she had a baby. It was his. And he was in prison for life, I guess, and he was never going to see the baby. Well, somehow he had this ability to be able to escape just anywhere, and he would just melt through the wall, but he had to take his clothes off and be naked. That's what it looked like to me.
He liked taking his clothes off, Safi.
So he'd take his clothes off, go through the wall, and I don't know, it's just how to get his clothes to the other side. I guess he did, and he just picked up a new set somewhere.
I don't know. This episode sucked.
It's just, I didn't like it. I hated the actor.
It was boring.
Yeah, but it's another idea about melting through walls, and you know, he wanted his child. I don't think he just wanted to necessarily talk to him. I think he wanted to go away with them. And
then he did a shitty job at getting his son. He fumbled it, and he ruined everything. I mean, Safi, his attempt at getting his son was about as good as
it was really weak.
A chimpanzee doing it.
Okay, I'm just going to go on to the next one.
What was that one called who had an encounter with the boy? And then they shot him for no reason. What was that called? Harambe? Harambe would have done a better job at getting Trevor than this fucking mustached idiot.
And what ended up happening is he was really, I mean, I was like, I don't know how they're going to defeat this guy.
He was chasing.
But he was taken off guard.
Safi, he was naked chasing his son. A weirdo, and
taken off guard, and his wife or girlfriend or whatever she was, she ran over him.
No, he wanted to die. He was going to leave him alone.
Oh, well, I thought he made a mistake because he had this horrified look on his face.
Well, he saw how scared his son was, and then he backed off, and then he got ran over.
Okay, now I'm going to move on we're down to my last 2, then Mark was going to do his. Number 2 is Alpha, and I think Marco and I are in agreement with this. Alpha is referring to a dog, and it's sad that all these dog episodes they've had, the other one was this really sweet, cute little, I think it was a Pomeranian. I mean, they're really cute. And this was about, you know, a mythical dog from another part of the world. The guy, I don't know, brought over or whatever, but then he lost him. He's looking for him, but it ended up the guy was the dog, and he would change, and they showed it, but it was dark. It was like a silhouette. They had this figure of a man. He was walking, and he slowly turns to a dog, and the dog was killing people. And why was it killing people? I don't know. Maybe Marco knows, but I didn't like the episode. He ended up getting killed, and you know, they finally destroyed him, and by a woman. She had a whole bunch of, and I think she destroyed herself in the process too. She had a whole bunch of dogs. It's just like they did with the Hannibal. They must have gone to a homeless dog shelter and rescued all these dogs, and they put them in the episode. I hope they got adopted out. because they were really cute, and it was all her dogs. She was a character in it, and she was studying this, and she knew the guy, and she knew about what he was all about, and she helped kill him.
Safi, why are you explaining these episodes?
Well,
I said don't explain them.
Okay,
You're taking up so much time. We're going to be uploading until like 6 o'clock at night.
And I just didn't like it. I hated it. The worst one is real weird. I usually really like this. I like the effort a show makes when they do a holiday episode, like especially Halloween and Christmas. And they did a Christmas one. It was called How the Ghost Stole Christmas. And you can actually watch this on YouTube, which I did watch a few months ago. I didn't even know it existed. I don't ever remember seeing it. But it was awful. And I didn't like it at all. At all. And that's the worst episode, I thought. It didn't do anything for me. And I just thought it was stupid. And I just if they're going to make an effort to do that, why this? And it was about ghosts in a haunted house and trying to get them to kill each other to entertain themselves, I guess. And I just didn't care for it.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Okay, so that's it for me. Now on to Marco.
Okay, my number 11 is Milagro. Now, this episode was the writer one. I actually liked this one, kinda. I really liked the actor who played the writer. He had a great voice, and it was cool listening to him narrate. The thing that I didn't like was Mulder. Mulder was terrible.
No, I didn't like him either.
He was a complete
jerk,
jealous jackass, and you could clearly tell that he was just biased against this guy because he has a thing for Scully, and I didn't like that. Number 10 was Field Trip. I didn't necessarily dislike this episode, but it was kind of boring. I mean, they had these situations that happen over and over and over again, and then they're like, oh no, actually, that's just an illusion.
It was like Groundhog Day.
It was like a Shark Boy and Lava Girl with the computer generation, with people melting in the sludge. And the only part that I liked was the part where they're having a meeting with Skinner, and then Mulder gets up and shoots him, because it's like, finally, someone... I mean, see, Skinner's just like a human punching bag, and that's how trash he is. And so I like seeing that happen. Number 9 was Tiffaness. I don't know what the F this was. I mean, the actor was really good, but it was just a really weak episode, and it was basically just all centered around Scully becoming immortal. And it's too bad because they had all the ingredients to have a really good episode. Like, I was excited to watch this episode. It's a good premise, it's good actors, and it was just boring and bad. Like, these episodes, they make me fall asleep. I actually took a nap during this episode with Bernie, the cat. And number 8 is Triangle. I actually liked this episode, but I couldn't even remember. This episode is just, it is the X-Files on crack. I mean, they're just like jumping all over the place. Like, they just can't stop, and like they just would focus on one thing to the next, to the next, and to the next. And sadly, it all amounted in a weak and disappointing finale of nothing really happening. I mean, how does Mulder escape? Spoiler alert, he jumps in the ocean, and then he magically ends up in the present time. I mean, what a stupid... and then you had all the actors playing different people. Like, you had Skinner, he was playing a general who lets them by to escape. And you had the cigarette guy, he played a Nazi. And, it's too bad, though, because I really liked it up until the ending. I loved the part, as I said, where Scully is trying to save Mulder, and she's going around to all these people, and they're all corrupt, and so she can't go to any of them, and it's funny. It's like the lone gunman they wanted her to get information, and she was like, oh, I can't go to anyone for information because they're all corrupt pieces of shit. And then let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 is Terms of Endearment. This wasn't bad either. It was Bruce Campbell, and he was a demon father. I kind of liked this episode. It wasn't that bad. It was a fun but flawed ride. There was a really good part where Bruce Campbell is driving and trying to get away from Mulder, and then Mulder pulls up right next to him, and he's like, where are you going? What are you doing today? And Bruce Campbell had to lie, and he had to go to this old woman's house to take her blood because Mulder was following him. That was a really funny and good part. And number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, I don't have any of these numbered. 6 is Biogenesis, the finale. I don't know what this finale was. There were rocks with writing, and apparently we're all aliens. Who cares? And then Krychek pops up.
As usual.
Just pops up and leaves. Who cares? Skinner, he's evil. Who cares? I mean, it's just trash. Not a good finale.
No, it was all over the place.
5 is SRA 819. And this one I was excited because they brought back the senator from season 2 who just, I mean, Safi, he popped up in season 2 and he disappeared until now. So for 4 seasons, he disappeared. And he was trash. And the whole episode is all about how Skinner, he's laid out on a hospital bed and he's got purple veins. It's just such a joke. Like the whole episode, it's like, and then he's boxing, he's sparring, and he just gets knocked out easily because he's such a weak little bitch. And
well, he's dreaming this. He's thinking this.
He wasn't dreaming about boxing. That's
I
when
he was.
No, that's when he got. Safi. He had a boxing match and he lost horribly, and he's just such a joke. And then 4 is Aguamala. This was a weak episode. It's too bad, though, because it had a good concept. It was just meh. 4 was... 3 is Trevor. Trevor was boring. Z time. And the story was trash. 2 is Alpha. Another boring trash episode. I barely paid attention. It's just when these episodes are bad, I don't even want to pay attention to them because they're so dumb. And this one, it's too bad because I was excited. I mean, you have the concept of a killer dog. It's a cool dog, and he's a shapeshifter. That's cool, but the episode's garbage. And number 1 is how the ghost stole Christmas. I don't know what they were thinking with this episode. I mean, what a trash. This episode is probably one of the worst episodes I've ever seen.
They could have done something so much better.
It was so boring. I fell asleep.
I read so many ghost books this summer.
I mean, it's like Mulder and Scully go into a house on Christmas, and then there are these 2 old farts, and they're ghosts, and they're haunting Mulder and Scully. And they make it like a comedy, and you can't take it seriously, and it's like, God, this is so stupid. I hated this episode. I literally, if this episode was a person, I'd be in prison for murder. Because that's...
For heaven's sakes, come on.
I hated this episode.
Well, so what?
It was terrible.
Ridiculous.
I want to beat this episode up and put it in the hospital, because it's such a terrible, boring waste of time. I mean, why? They could have made a good episode. I was looking forward to it. Fuck off. Mulder and Scully, they go into a house, they get haunted by ghosts. That sounds like a great episode. And no, of course not. We got to have a joke episode with Ed Asner and some other washed up actress. And it's just, wow, what a complete waste of time. Safi, what are your top 11 best?
Okay, well, actually I have 12.
Oh, I bet you do.
10.
I bet you do.
Okay, well, the actually 11 and 12 are kind of like mixed. 12 is two fathers, and that is one thing we did not mention that characterizes this season. Maybe, and I think it characterizes this season more than any other. They had a lot of two-part episodes. Usually they don't do something like that, at least in my experience. What they'll do is they'll make part one will be the finale. Sorry, and part two will be the first episode of the next season. But during this season, they had several two-parters, and this was a major one because this is what started the lead-off to a huge storyline that tied up all these storylines and events and people from all the past seasons and episodes. And this was called Two Fathers, and it's Cassandra Spender, Agent Spender's mom, and Angela Cartwright, the actress. She has been, she was abducted by aliens. Among her many times she's been abducted. Of course, her son doesn't believe it. He thinks she's insane, and Mulder's bad because Mulder believes her. And he's been punishing him the entire first half of the season, which irritated me to no end. And I'm thinking all along, like, where's his mom? And I wonder what happened to her. What does he think? Where does he think she is? Anyway, well, she shows up. She's in some kind of rail car getting surgerized, and they all get killed, but she's alive. And anyway, there's this storyline, and I'm not going to mention it, but the Two Fathers refers to Smoking Man, because you know what? Who Smoking Man is? He's Agent Spender's dad.
But remember, Safi, he's also Agent Mulder's sister's dad, too.
He really got around. And then the other father is Mr. Mulder, who's
Safi,
Mulder's dad.
He has more secret children than David Duchovny did on Californication.
Yeah, whatever. But it was mixed for me. It was the beginning of this huge. I mean, after it was the second one was over, which it's in my top 10, but I won't say what it is. But anyway, after it's over, you're like, well, what are they going to do now? And that's when they had all these episodes, and you think, geez, they just going there like it never happened? I mean, it was kind of bizarre.
Yeah, they literally pretend like that whole episode was nothing.
Okay, well, I move on. 11, which, like I said, these two episodes are mixed. This was Biogenesis, and this was this last episode of the season.
Ew.
It was all over the place. I just don't know what to say about it. It went like, it was like what was it? Pong? Remember that video game Pong? That's what it reminded me of, a ping pong ball. And it didn't bounce back and forth. It just bounced all over the place. And that's why there were some good parts to it, but it just, as a whole, it wasn't that great.
Well, that would be like a pinball machine.
Well, I'm thinking of Pong because it really reminds me of that. Okay, well, number 10 is Field Trip. Now, Marco's mentioned this before, but this was like Groundhog Day, and it just kept replaying over and over. And you have to have a lot of patience to watch this episode. You think, oh, it's over. You think all these things are happening, or they did happen, but they didn't happen. They were actually being eaten by these parasites that were part of the ground. And the whole ground, in the end, I guess they have to cordon it off, like acres of land that are infected with this parasite. And they were done. They got rescued, but the rescue came after attempt. I mean, over and over again. It kind of either gave you a headache, or you were frustrated and beyond belief. So anyway, but it is unusual. That's why I put it in the top 10, because it was an interesting idea, but you had to have patience to watch the episode.
Safi, the episode has nothing. I mean, the title has nothing to do with the episode. That's for sure. Field trip.
Yeah. Well,
what does that mean?
Yeah, that's another thing. But okay, now number 9, I thought was very creative. I think it's Unnatural. Is that what it's called?
The Unnatural, because
Unnatural.
it's a parody on the baseball movie The Natural, which I haven't seen.
I haven't either. And basically it's about an alien baseball player. He loves baseball, and it's really, remember they had the African American leagues in Kansas City. They have a huge museum visiting baseball teams go to visit that show the black, Negro, whatever you call them, baseball leagues.
What'd you just
and
say,
this
Safi?
was, Mario, be quiet. And then, but this guy, these aliens, they can change themselves. So he changed himself to look like a black player, because he thought, well, because he was so special, nobody would pay attention because he's black. And he's in this league that's all blacks. And so but he just loved to play, and he was really, really, really good. And that's why I really liked it, though. It was really good. And then number 8 is Milagro, and that's about that neighbor.
The writer.
The writer who...
How Mulder's like...
Really, I think he loves Scully, and she actually... There was chemistry there, and Mulder was really jealous. And that was kind of funny. But it was interesting. It was about love. Number 7 was Arcadia, and I thought this was interesting because it was about these bad things that were going on in a, I wish I could think of the word, but it's those housing areas where they have a council or a club or of people who decide about what the neighbors can have in their yards and what they can't. And they make all these rules. And like I remember, okay, yeah, all right. And then like I remember we had a friend who moved to one of those, and they were not allowed to have a garden. They could have potted plants, but they had to be specific potted plants that were not too big. And all these stupid rules. Well, I think this was a plot, not a plot, but what would you call it? Kind of an anti that. And it's called Arcadia, which I don't get that, but anyway, it was about these people who had disappeared or they were murdered, and everybody was keeping it quiet. And Scully and Mulder dressed up and went undercover as a married couple to out them. So I thought that was interesting.
You guys see what I mean? How Chris Cop-Out baited people the whole season?
Well, I thought that was good. I think they should do that.
But they did all... No, I'm talking... You're not listening. They did all these stories where it's like purposefully baiting their romance. And how people want them to be together. And so, let's have an episode where they pretend to be a married couple. And let's have an episode where he kisses Scully as a different person. And it just feels like a big middle finger to all the fans.
Okay, well, my number 6 is Drive. This had Bryan Cranston. And he played this murderer who, he and his wife got infected or affected by these radio waves that were played one day over their house. They were directly under the area where they were played, and it affected them in such a way. She got killed, and he what would you call it? He kind of kidnapped, partially.
He took Mulder hostage after this chase that was like the OJ chase.
Yeah, and he and I didn't even. He was hard to recognize at first, but he has this very recognizable voice because he was very, he has costume and makeup. I mean, he just looked totally different. But anyway, he made Mulder drive in a certain direction because it was relieving the pain, and he knew you just have to keep driving, and that was another thing. It was kind of like this other episode, Field Trip, where you kind of had to have patience to watch it, and you were wondering what was going to happen. And they were going to have to, in the end, they were going to have to put a needle in his inner ear.
That was really gross.
I almost threw up. I was eating, just thinking about that.
I didn't even want to watch that.
And thankfully, did he get killed, or he killed himself before?
He died before they got there, which I had the same thing happen in a doctor's appointment, where this doctor looked into my ear. And he said, "There's a lot of earwax in there, little buddy." And he stuck a needle in my ear and got out this earwax. And it was surprising how much there was, but it was like that. And so it made me
Not really.
Gross.
But this, oh God.
Yeah, but just thinking about And she said that he was going to be deaf forever after that happening. And so just
Okay, well, the next one is number 5, and it's actually apropos because it's kind of like the way this is in the middle of all the quote good episodes, at least the ones I thought that were good. And it was One Son, and that is the part 2 of that. Remember the 2 fathers? One son, I guess, would refer to Mulder because Dad, who likes to smoke all the time, said that Mulder was a lot better son or person than Agent Spender. And I was like, the worst thing you could say to your child. I just couldn't believe it. That was really bad. But this was like the beginning. I mean, the whole episode was this huge, massive plot lines, and it all came together from all these previous seasons. Cassandra Spender, she wanted to die because she knew that the problem, that the thing that they were doing, that if she died, it would wreck their hopes, and she wanted to die. And his father killed him. The smoking man killed his son, and he murdered him, shot him. And it was just a massive, massive episode.
And there's no follow-up on him getting murdered, by the way. Like, they just pretend like
he never existed.
Oh, that never happened. Just like Mr. X. Mr. X never got killed. Yeah. Who's Mr. X?
It was just, though after that happened, you don't see the smoking guy really very much at all.
You don't see him at all.
And he does appear at the finale for about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Because you always see, before you see him, you see the smoke. Okay, next one is number 4, and that's Rain King.
The Rain King.
The Rain King. And this is interesting because it's about love again, and I just thought it was creative. And it was this guy who had a thing for this girl who didn't care about him, but he, for some reason, he had the ability through his emotions to control the weather, to make it good or to make it horrible and actually deadly and kill people. And it all gets worked out, but the guy who thinks he calls himself the Rain King, he's not. It's somebody else, and he's been living on this fake reputation that he's the one who causes the weather to change. Well, he's not. And he finally gets put in his place. And I just thought it was good. It was very creative.
It was good.
And number 3 is Monday. This is another creative episode. And it was hard not to put this in 1 or 2, which I have something else there, but it is really good. It's about this girl with this ability to envision something that's going to happen with her significant other, that he is going to blow up a bank and Agent Scully and Mulder. And it happens over and over, and it's another one where you have to have a little bit of patience.
She doesn't envision it. It just happens over and over. No, that's something that's bad about it, is that it's not explained how it happens. Like, for some reason, her day just happens over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And we watched it on a Monday as well. And but But that was a bad thing about the episode, was that they don't even explain how it happened, why it happened to just her.
It ends up okay.
Yeah.
But she does get killed.
Oh, Safi.
Well, I don't care.
Damn you.
Okay, I'm going to go to number 2 and number 1, and the reason why I'm saying them both together like that
because it's a two-parter.
Because it's a two, and remember how I said that there are several two-part episodes. Well, this was Dreamland 2, I put as 2, and Dreamland 1, I put as 1, which maybe they were interchangeable, but I thought the Dreamland 1, because everything came to conclusion in 2, and it kind of was a downer, at least, because, they just put a kibosh on it, but somehow they were Mulder was at Area 51 to investigate. Guess what? Aliens.
They were there to meet with a contact who turned out to be the general, and then they saw this alien spaceship, and there was a flash, and it switched bodies with
Michael Mckeon.
Him and David Duchovny. And
that was fun.
That was fun,
It
Safi.
was funny and fun and creative, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Because I just laughed. I mean, it was probably very rare for me to laugh so much during an X-Files episode. They're just not meant for that.
It was really good because it mixed the comedy and the dark instead of trying to make the dark the comedy like all the other comedic episodes do.
Yeah, and Michael Mckeon was playing David Duchovny. Goes to his apartment and he notices this spare bedroom is a disaster, or maybe that's his bedroom.
That was funny.
And he cleans it all up. He reorganizes the whole apartment and gets things out. I mean, things showed up that have been hidden for centuries. And
he was like, this place isn't going to look like a bachelor pad anymore.
And he cooks and he gets good food. Like good groceries and wine, and anyway, he likes Scully, and what happens is he comes on to her, well, Scully's like, this isn't Mulder, I don't know what's going on, and it all gets worked out in the end in Dreamland 2, but it was fun. If you ever have a chance to watch, and Michael Mckeon is just really good. It's so funny because he plays such a, he's kind of a very strong character, and very funny, which he is a comedian. But he's in Better Call Saul, and he plays this, jerk, horrible, mean guy. And
evil. Pure evil.
Says terrible things to his son.
Brother.
Because he's his brother, I'm sorry. Because he's jealous of him. Yeah. And it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it was so nice to see him in more of his natural element, which is being fun and comedic, and do it with David Duchovny, like just switching the role. It just was great. I loved it. So those are my 1 and 2, and that's it. Go ahead, Marco.
Okay. I'll try to go faster than you.
I'm sure you will. Well, you probably have some of these.
Number 11 is Three of a Kind. This should be on the bad list, but it ranks above Milagro, in my opinion. It was very disappointing going from that amazing first Lone Gunman episode to this. Ugh. And they brought back the blonde woman only to make her like this biatch who gets married to this other guy.
She's getting married.
And it's like, God, wow, they really made her trash. And it's this thing where, like, she was kidnapped and she wanted the Lone Gunman guy to save her, but then it was this other guy, so she's just going to marry him instead. And then at the end, it's this really weird thing where she wants him to run off with her, and it's like, what the F? Because last season, in the first episode of the Lone Gunman episodes, she told him, you need to spread the truth around, and that should be your life's goal. But it's like, oh, she went from that to, we need to run away together, get married, and have children. And we can name them, Tibidibidibida and Tibidibidibida. X-File style naming, Safi.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a really disappointing episode, unfortunately. Number 10 was the Unnatural. I kind of liked this one. I kind of didn't, though, because they followed the same format as the Shitty Travelers episode in the 5th season, where Mulder goes to an old man's apartment, and then the old man is like, let me tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story. And he tells him this flashback story, but what's good is that the flashback story is actually good. It's a very well done character story between these two guys, a policeman and a black baseball alien player. You'd never be able to do that nowadays, Safi, because, policeman bad. You'd never be able to make that nowadays.
They were like best friends.
Yeah, they were very good character chemistry. They could have had their own whole show together. Yeah. That's how good they were. But it was really weird how Scully, at the beginning of the episode, I gotta say, Scully this season acts like she is mentally ill. Like, she goes from one end to the other. She acts like a joke character. Like, it's really weird. She acts so out of character. I can't stand it. But I like that episode. And then, number 9 is Two Fathers. That's pretty good. Number 8 is Arcadia. I really like this episode because I love seeing Mulder, and he just doesn't give an F about these stupid rules like, you can't do this, you can't do that.
They wanted to put a basketball hoop outside in his driveway, and they said no.
Basketball is bad. And it's like, I love just seeing Mulder, because he acted like he does on Californication in this episode. And so it was almost like watching a Californication crossover with the X-Files. Like, if they did a crossover, this is what it would be. It would be his character with Scully, and he has to investigate this housing neighborhood. Number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
8, maybe?
Number 7 is The Rain King. I really liked this episode a lot. It was very simplistic, and that was the thing about it. It was so simplistic. It was just all about these characters. You had this guy, and he was a nice guy, but he was really like a nervous Nelly. And then you had this bitch, and she just wouldn't grow up and be with him. And she just wanted to be with all these losers. And so he was accidentally destroying her life, and Mulder and Scully had to make her grow up and get with him. And so that's how it ends. And that was really good.
Yeah, that was really good.
Number 6 was The Beginning. Not Texas Chainsaw, The Beginning, but just The Beginning. And I like this episode because you had this full alien running around killing people, and they're trying to use this psychic kid to get the alien. There were some things I hated about it, though. First off, somehow this kid is in the middle of a full room of 30-plus hospital people, and Scully says she's going to take care of him. And then 1 minute later, he's kidnapped.
Yeah,
I thought
I didn't like that at all.
that was so dumb. And then also, the psychic kid was telling Mulder and Scully, you guys just want to use me for my knowledge. And it's like, no shit, Sherlock, you're a psychic kid. Like, why wouldn't we want to just extract information out of you? Like, what an idiot. I mean, why not? He has a gift. Like, why wouldn't people want to use that gift to learn useful information to save people's lives? Number 5 was Dreamland 2. I really, really liked it. It was funny. It was fun. But the thing was that it was weaker than the first part because of how quickly it ends. It ends in this very fizzle-out way where it's like, oh, let's just fix things magically, and then boom, it's fixed.
Well, see, they weren't the only ones who were interchanged. There were other people involved, and they were important people and they had to do it.
Number 4 was One Son. I really liked this one. You know, Jeffrey Spender, he was a great character because he was finally what I wanted. Where I said, you know, they talk all about how people laugh about Mulder and they call him spooky, but they never really do anything with that. Like, they never make it where he gets discriminated against, really, as like a main story. But they do in this season, where they have Jeffrey, and he's just a jackass.
He's a meanie
but
jerk.
in this episode, he has a really good arc where he turns into a good guy, and he becomes like a really good character. And there's a great part where the cult of bad guys, they all get killed by rebel aliens. That was really cool. It was a really good episode. 3 was Dreamland. Very, very fun. A great premise. Number 2 was Drive. I really liked this episode because Bryan Cranston's character, you know, he's a nobody. He's just a random guy. But since Vince Gilligan wrote it, this guy, you cared about him more than basically Mulder and Scully the whole season. Like, he had this horrible situation where, because of these stupid government experiments, these radio waves, he has this thing that needs to be fixed, and so he's going crazy. And so it was a very good episode. It was a top tier episode. And number 1 was Monday. And this episode was really fantastic because Scully and Mulder die multiple times. And it really is like Groundhog Day, unlike the field trip one, where you have this bank robbery, and it's just really, really good. Like, it's so good. I loved all the characters. I loved how they had to try to solve this situation from different angles, and how different approaches did not work. It was basically like these video games that they make now, where you have to choose, you have to make choices, and Detroit Become Human. It's basically like that game, but as an X-Files episode. And it really feels like a finale, actually. It does not feel like a one-off episode. So, Safi, how would you rate this season in terms of food?
I rate it in terms of a cafeteria meal. Because you go to it's been a long time since I've been to a cafeteria. I always thought they were a lot of fun because you could get you could get all this weird stuff anytime you wanted. All these desserts and fruits, vegetables, meats, sides, and so you could get a bunch of things. And like I said, the season was kind of all over the place. It was up and down, and some of the episodes themselves were like insane because they were just all over, and you just didn't know where you were going next. And in cafeteria food, you get an assortment of dishes. You can get all of these things that were like spaghetti, and then you can get country fried steak. I mean, things that aren't even related together. And that's what. And I would like to have a cafeteria meal right now, but I don't even know.
I bet you would.
We have one, but I don't think it's open. I don't know because of COVID. I have no idea, but it's been a long time. But that's what it reminded me of, the season. So go ahead.
Oh my! You're not gonna like my rating.
I don't care. Just do what you're gonna do.
I rate season 6. The quiche that you made last night.
Oh, wow. That's what I thought you were going to do. I made a good quiche, but it was late because we had to wait for the ingredients to come home before I could cook. And a quiche has multiple levels. For me, anyway, I make the crust. I have to cut the vegetables. I didn't cut the onion because it really bothers my eyes, and I'm about blind. My eyes are killing me. So I cut, the other vegetable was broccoli. So I have to cut the broccoli, I have to steam the broccoli. Then I have to make a fish. I have to make chicken breast. I have to cook those in the crock pot, for an hour and 15 minutes, and then I have to let it cool a little bit. Then I have to cut them up into little chunks, because with some dishes I use that, but I shred the chicken. For quiche, I cut them up into pieces. And I have to make the filling, and then I have to roll out the crust to make the pie. I have to shred cheese. So I have to shred cheddar cheese.
You have to cut the cheese.
And I have to shred the, I use spicy pepper jack cheese. And somebody else wanted Swiss cheese. They didn't want any cheddar cheese, so I had to shred that too. Now I know you can buy shredded cheese. The problem with shredded cheese is it has a lot more moisture in than a regular block of cheese. So why that is, I have no idea, but that's what I've heard. So that's why I'm shredding it myself. So I have all these different steps, and then I have to put it all together. Well, you know what time it was when I got those in the oven? 9 o'clock, 9:06. And what you do for quiche, you have to cook it on a high temperature. Now we have a convection oven now, so that alters the way we cook anything, and we're still getting used to it because it's very weird.
And Safi?
I have to cook it for 15 minutes on a high temperature, and then I have to turn temperature down a notch. And for the rest of the time, which would be like 45 minutes, it would be at a lower temperature. Well, I did that. I didn't open the oven. I just left it alone. I covered the quiches after that first 15 minutes because the crust gets too brown. It almost gets burned. So you have to cover them. And for some reason, it didn't completely cook or something.
This is my rating.
Well, I just wanted to explain that quiche is not some little, for me, I do all these steps, and it's completely homemade.
Well, let me explain why. Because this is probably the worst quiche I've ever had.
Oh, well, that's really nice.
Because it's true, because it was raw, and usually quiche is good because it's got these simple but good elements that are together. You have egg, cheese, chicken, and broccoli, and it's a perfect combination of crap. And but last night it was so gross. It was like you could tell just from looking at the cross section of the cutting, you could tell that it was not cooked all the way. And the chicken, there's something I really hate about chicken whenever Safi makes it, possibly or someone else, or just chicken in general, where the chicken will be chewy and it will have this really weird texture. And the chicken was very weird. It tasted like some cheap $1 chicken that you got out of a trash can. And the broccoli was pretty good, though. The broccoli was the only thing that was cooked. The eggs were soggy and not cooked. The cheese tasted like you're just eating string cheese out of a bag. Like you're eating, not string, but like, shredded cheese out of a bag. And the crust was pretty soggy and raw too. And so, but the thing is, why I say quiche is because it was so inconsistent. It was none of the ingredients felt like they went together last night because it was so undercooked. And for this season, it was so inconsistent. It was all over the place. There was no singular vision except for let's F with the fans by having Mulder and Scully with their little romance tease every episode. And let's F with the fans by having Kirsch, a Mr. Kirsch, and then he just becomes useless. And it was such a shitty season. So, Safi, anything else?
If you like this video, press the like button. If you would like to be one of our subscribers, please press the subscribe button too. We welcome all new subscribers with open arms for discussion and sharing your thoughts and comments about this season of the X-Files or any of the episodes or what you liked or didn't like about it, and anything else you'd like to talk about. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.